Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the City of East Providence City Council meeting. This isn't working too well. Deputy Clerk, may we first start off with a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Here.
Councilman Morado.
Here.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Here.
Councilwoman Souza.
Here.
Council President Brito.
Here, thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. Chair recognizes a motion for the meet in executive closed session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A2 on the one new claim sewer abatement and litigation as listed on the agenda. Would anyone like to make a motion? But before we make a motion to go into executive session?
Thank you. If I could interrupt you before we do that, if it's okay with the rest of the council, I'd like to move that Roman numeral 12, item number 2, the recognitions that we have invited today, that be moved up to this time. I'd make that a motion if we need to.
Any objections? We have a second. Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morado.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye, thank you. Councilman, would you like to read the proclamation or would you like me to take it from here? Okay, so this is a proclamation for those women who are being recognized today, this evening, 2022 Remarkable Woman for the City of East Providence by the City Council President, Vice President, and Councilwoman, Councilman, and Councilman Morado, Cahoon, Councilwoman Souza, Rodrick, and myself. Whereas in the United States, the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama, proclaimed March of 2011 to be Women History Month, calling Americans to reflect on the extraordinary accomplishments of women in shaping the country's history. And whereas during Women's History Month in March, the City of East Providence honored all women who sacrificed and strive to ensure all people have an equal opportunity. Whereas today, May 3rd, 2022, we are honored to recognize 5 remarkable East Providence women who reside in the City of East Providence. And whereas the 2022 remarkable woman, Mildred Morris, Margaret Marcotte, thank you for the correction, Christina Alves, Patricia Henry, and Kimberly Nunes have served as talented, passionate, and driven women who have sparked the flames for the next generation of women throughout the city. Therefore, I, Council President Robert Brito, and the East Providence City Council members do hereby proclaim recognition to the 2022 Remarkable Woman of the City of East Providence. We honor and thank Morris, Marcotte, Alves, Henry, and Nunes for their continued hard work and dedication in making East Providence a special community. In recognition whereof, we have hereby set our hands and cause the seal of the City of East Providence to hereunto affix this 3rd day of May 2022. And we have the proclamations up here signed by each council member as well. So I just want to thank you all for being remarkable women. So I just want to pass out these proclamations. So for each and every one of you, and I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for being recognized and remarkable, although we like to include that every woman in this city is remarkable. But I want to say a special thanks to all of you for everything that you have done, and you deserve this very well. And one of the other things, I just want to recognize Pat, because Pat received some proclamation last term that I was on as well. It escapes me at this point in time which one it was, but I will get it at some point in time. So again, thank you all for your time. Thank you for your dedication, your service, and everything you not only do for your families, but for the city as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I'll just call you all up. Christine Alves. Unfortunately, Mildred Morris is not with us this evening, so she can't be here. Margaret? Thank you. Kimberly? Kimberly's not here as well? Okay. Want to make sure Mildred gets hers as well? Kimberly. So again, thank you for everything you've done for the city and for your family.
So now we move to go to executive session.
You make the motion.
Thank you, council members.
Thank you, Mr. President. This time, I would move according to state law 4246-5 that we go to executive session.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to go into executive session. Would anyone like to second that motion?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye, thank you. We will now proceed in executive session and reconvene in open session at the conclusion of executive session. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the City of East Providence City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. May we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I ask those who have hats, please remove them.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Deputy Clerk, may we start off with a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
I'm here.
Councilman Morado.
Here.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Here,
Councilwoman Souza.
Here.
Council President Brito.
Here, next item, please.
Next item is motion to seal executive session minutes.
Do we have a motion to seal the executive session
So
meeting minutes? Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morado.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
aye,
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye.
Next item is consent calendar for discussion and possible vote. It's to approve the council journals from the executive session of April 19th, 2022, and the regular meeting minutes of April 19th, 2022.
I have a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morado.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
aye,
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye. Next item, please.
Licenses for discussion and possible vote. The first one is a one-day entertainment license. It's a new license. The applicant is Jose Sanchez at 395 Newport Avenue, LS Teca Mexican Restaurant. The date and time of the event is May 5th, 2022, 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. and it is a DJ.
This is a non-public hearing. With that being said, do all of these applicants here have all their information
Yes.
into the clerk's office?
Yes,
So there's no
please, sir.
questions or concerns?
There's not.
Would you all, at the council's pleasure, would you like to group the non-public hearings as one package?
Mr. President, I move to bundle items 7A1 through 7A5 for vote.
Any objections? No objections? We have a second. We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Cahoon, seconded by Councilwoman Souza. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morado.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
aye,
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye. Next item, please.
Oh,
So
no,
for
we have
those-
to- That was just a bundle. them.
That was
We
the
have to-
bundle.
Yep.
Vote to
So
approve.
that said, Mr. President, move to approve the bundle.
Second.
Did we have to roll on the bundle?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm sorry. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morado.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye. Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item, we are at public comment. If you would like to do public comment.
So we have a list of people here for public comment who's speaking on behalf of the chicken ordinance. However, we do have we have a discussion on it later on as well. So you could choose whether you want to speak your piece at this point in time, where you have 3 minutes, or you could speak during a public hearing where you have unlimited amount of time. So for those of you who would like to come up during public comment during this time, you're more than welcome. Those who are signed up. Otherwise, we can hold you off until we have the discussion on the ordinance itself, and you can approach the podium at that point. Okay, so we'll hold off on all those who signed up for public comment here, and you can talk during the discussion.
The next item will be under council members. It is the RIDOT Hunts Mill Bridge closer by Council President Brito. Discussion only.
Oh, it's not a discussion. It's just want to. I'm sorry, it caught me a little off guard. I just want to, it's a public information. I want people to be aware of. The state will be working on the Hunts Mill Bridge. For those of you not familiar exactly where it is, it's on Pleasant Street in the northern part of the city in Rumford. That bridge will be closed for approximately 3 months. There will be no traffic traveling to and from Massachusetts by Pleasant Street. And I just want to get you the dates at this point in time, so you're all fully aware of this. So, but excuse me for one moment, so while I pull this up. All right, the Huntsmill Bridge will be closed from August 19th to November 30th, 2022. So anybody who uses that road to or from, that road will be closed, excuse me, that bridge will be closed from August 19th to November 30th. And again, this is just public information that I want to share with you now at this point in time, so you can start planning in advance. But again, that bridge will be closed, the Huntsmill Bridge, which is on Pleasant Street in the Rumford section of East Providence from August 19th to November 30th. So thank you.
And we already covered the City of East Providence Remarkable Women Acknowledgement. The next item will be public hearing ordinances for second passage for discussion and possible vote. An ordinance and amendment of Chapter 3 of the revised ordinances of the City of East Providence, Rhode Island, 1998, as amended, entitled Animals. The summary is to allow the keeping and housing of chickens in a residential neighborhood by permit. The sponsor is Councilman Cahoon and Councilwoman Souza.
Okay, this is a public hearing. So those of you who signed up for public comment, this will be an opportunity to speak, but I'll allow the council members to open the discussion if so.
Nope, I'm ready to hear
Okay.
from the public.
Okay, anyone from the public wishing to speak for or against this? Please approach the podium. Green light on?
Sorry.
There you go.
My name is Lorna Steele. I want to thank you for your consideration of new chicken ordinances. These are important to a number of residents of East Providence for sustainable egg sources, for education for their children, and therapeutic benefit as emotional support animals. I hope under the stringent ordinances you have drafted that you will vote to approve the keeping of hens in East Providence.
The next is Patrick Fahey.
Good evening. I just wanted to voice my support of the progress that they've made during the chicken ordinances, hoping you will pass it tonight. I think it's everybody's right to be able to make that decision if they want to take on that burden and take on the work necessary to do to have chickens in the house. And I think that you guys did a wonderful job pulling together a comprehensive ordinance to cover all the bases. And I just want to speak in favor of being able to house chickens.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next person, please.
Next person is Adam Hall.
Thank you. I'm here speaking in favor of keeping chickens in East Providence. I just wrote something small. Chickens are simple animals with few needs that are easily met. They provide a great return on their investment, which includes eggs, fertilizer, and the eradication of many insects. They help cut down on kitchen waste by eating copious amounts of food scraps. What's important for me is that they help build community. And if any of you received any form of communication from my neighbors expressing their bias against chickens, you'll have to take that with a grain of salt because they always accept eggs happily and with a smile. And over the years, I've given away loads of eggs, but they help build a community. And that's some of the greatest people I know in Rhode Island raise chickens, and we've bonded over this. And I've found people with whom I can share and learn from and appreciate a commonality that together we can all do something that is bigger than any one of us provide, we can nourish. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next person.
Paul and Beth Galligan.
Hi, we have spoken before, but we just want to speak again this week about the chicken ordinance and changing it. everyone before me pretty much said everything that we were gonna say, but they're not only good for self-sustainability, but they're great animals for instilling core values in children as it pertains to caring for animals, raising livestock, and building useful life skills. There's also a big community aspect, and like he had mentioned, people who also have chickens, and it's a great learning experience for our young daughter.
Thank you guys for drafting it. And we are in favor of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next person, please.
Joanne Pazzulo.
I'm just curious if there's a chicken incident after hours, who is going to respond? Is anyone going to respond? Because when I had called about a dead cat on Bullocks Point Avenue, I asked if someone, the animal control, could come out and pick it up. And I was told it was after hours. Sorry. Their officers were also too busy to come pick up a dead cat. So I, in the dark, went out there and picked up this dead cat as I'm sobbing and hoping to not get hit by a car in front of my daughter. So I just hope that there's some sort of coverage and that it's not going to increase my taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person, please.
It just says Naray, Naray.
Oh, please approach, sir. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Would that be it?
No, next is Rory Miller.
My name is Roy Miller. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I think that a lot of the members of the community have already spoken eloquently about the benefits of chickens. I want to add that, I think that chickens, in addition to creating community, I think this is a great example of the city taking action to allow neighbors to solve problems collectively and create community collectively around an issue. I think some of the challenges emerge when we make everything black and white and we empower people to make decisions and work out things amongst themselves, whether that be a chicken or a dog or whatever it happens to be. I think it's great. And I think this is a real positive move, and I'm happy. I'm hopeful that it is going forward. I'm happy we got to this point. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next person.
Next would be anyone who wants to speak for the public hearing.
Again, this is a public hearing, so anyone wishing to speak for or against this ordinance, please approach the podium. So you all know you do not have to sign up for this, so anyone wishing to speak for or against, please approach the podium, please.
Members of the council, my name is Kathy Houlihan. I live at 9 Florence Street in the Riverside section of East Providence. I work here in the city clerk's office, but I'm not here tonight as a city employee. I'm here as a resident of the city of East Providence. I am here in opposition of the proposed ordinance to allow chickens in the resident properties of the city. Sorry, I'm not a great speaker.
You're doing well.
Thank you. I want to start off with a question. How many of you are dog owners?
I am.
Yes.
I am.
How many of you registered your dogs?
I am.
I think it's safe to say that only a very small percentage of our overall dog population is registered in the city. How can we as a municipality assume that people's ignorance or avoidance of dog licensing laws will be any different with chickens? I want to address 3 concerns that I have with this ordinance. Zoning. Zoning is how local government regulates and develops land in its control. It is broken down into multiple categories to help balance the city and ensure proper land use, provided value to citizens that own property. Zoning helps protect the local environment and keep property values stable. The current zoning laws establish clear guidance on keeping chickens in the city and require a 100-foot buffer between coops and any abutting property of a single family dwelling only. This is clear and concise, and you want to change that to 20 feet. If the council wishes to change this, then why are we attempting to circumvent Current zoning processes. This should be vented through the normal zoning process, not crafted to work around it. We have zoning laws in place for a reason. Also, zoning laws are only allow chickens in single family home dwellings. With multiple family dwellings also be allowed to have chickens, even though it clearly spells out that they are not allowed regardless of the distance at current zoning codes. This ordinance creates a special permit that overrides good zoning laws. What section of zoning does it override? Is the council comfortable with creating other special permits to override zoning? Sorry. 2, public health. Last year, the CDC on their website reported 1,135 cases of salmonella from backyard chickens. Of that, 273 required hospitalization and 2 deaths occurred. The CDC also reports that actual numbers of cases are far greater and not reported or discovered. In addition, there are thousands of cases of salmonella reported in large-scale chicken farms. Do you really think that amateur chicken handlers are not going to have these issues? Watching a YouTube video does not make you an expert on anything. Does the city plan on providing a comprehensive plan to address outbreaks such as this? What type of training does our animal control officers have related to proper care and handling of chickens? Do we have adequate facilities to house chickens that are seized or need to be quarantined? They are already down 1 full-time pound keeper per the contract. This will also create more calls for our understaffed police department. Accountability. Lastly, the council is asking neighbors to act as a last line of defense, pitting neighbors who want chickens against neighbors who don't. This is this is not the definition of harmonious relationships. And quite frankly, it's not the responsibility of the citizens of East Providence to enforce attempts to circumvent existing laws. It's the responsibility of this council. Thank you for your time. Please do not take the easy way out and overstep our zoning laws. Please do not pass this ordinance and make sure you register your dogs.
Thank you. Next person.
I'm here in support of the chicken ordinance. I think that people should be able to have chickens, and she's using CDC. I had salmonella and I never had chickens before. You can get it anywhere. There's no way to prove that it was actually from the chickens. My neighbors have no problem with anybody having chickens. There's several in Riverside that I know of personally. And nobody complains about them as long as you don't have a rooster. I got a neighbor who has one right next door to me, and nobody has problems with them. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else would like to approach the podium and speak for or against?
Good evening. I'm just gonna say that I have chickens. I've had them now for about 3 years. The CO has been to my house, said it was one of the cleanest ones he had seen. The fact that I have chickens inspired my neighbors to get chickens as well. And yeah, it's great. We have, everything works out perfect. All of the abutting neighbors were approached before we got them. They all were in approval, and I support the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marcus Farrow. I came here for the solar solicitation license. I was expecting to speak and you guys approved it, so thanks for that. As far as the chicken thing, I think it's a good idea. I would be opposed to them being allowed in restaurants. I don't know if that's approved with this, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can keep them quiet, but yeah, I just figured I'd throw my two cents in there. I think overall it's a good idea. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Any others? With no one approaching the podium, public hearing is now closed, and I'll leave it at the pleasure of the council.
I just want to add something in addition to what I stated last council meeting when we had this discussion for first passage. A couple of things that do bother me with this ordinance. First of all, I commend those who have had chickens for the longest time and no one hears about them. You are the exception. I doubt that others who never took care of chickens now feel that, opportunity, let me try it. It's the same with the fire pits. And for the first 2 years, yes, we did tweak the fire ordinance, but I hear the same complaints constantly from people, smoke in my window. We don't have, not everyone is as responsible as those that I know that have chickens and the way they keep the upkeep. I don't like the idea of having to ask a neighbor for permission. I've been in law enforcement long enough. I see bad relationships occur between neighbors from a simple parking of a vehicle in front of someone else's home. And, you can't just pick up your house and move, even though the market's excellent right now, but where you're going to live, that's the other problem. But you can't just pick up your house and move. And those situations just keep escalating. So, point one, are they going to say no? Most likely not, so that they don't create that animosity. And then you have the other situation. If one of those neighbors that the budding neighbor decides to sell the house, are they going to have a disclosure now to, there's chickens next door? Is it fair to those people? When you have roosters in the mix, because apparently you can't tell if they're male or female. If you have roosters in the mix, at what point you're going to get rid of them? How are you going to get rid of them? Center City is congested, small lots. And yes, I don't care what anyone says. Yes, they do attract rodents. I grew up in Providence, Washington Park. Okay, the rats there don't care if you're having a picnic or not. You put out a bowl of dog food, they're going to come, trust me. So they're just attracted. It's nature. It's, unless you keep that thing clean every single day, which I highly doubt that's going to be the situation with most people. Highly doubt it. And for that reason, I am going to be voting nay.
Thank you, Councilman. I feel the same. I just want to voice my opposition in regards to this ordinance as well. As I alluded to in the last council meeting, that we are a city of 47,000 plus, and more importantly, we are a growing city at this point in time. And I just can't see the mixing and mingling with chickens in the city, and more importantly, in the city of East Providence. Again, like the councilman said, I take my hat off for those of you who had chicken, even though it was against the law. You had chicken, well kept. But going forward, I see there's going to be more of a danger for those people who, as Councilman said, that never grew chickens before, never had chickens before, and they're just going to be all over the place the way I look at it. So again, I'm opposed of this ordinance. I will not be voting for this ordinance, as I indicated the last meeting. And hopefully in the event that it doesn't create a real serious problem throughout the city, primarily with neighbors, as we have experienced with the woman who came up during the last meeting. So thank you.
Mr. President, if I may.
Yes.
So I support the ordinance. Obviously, my name's on it for a couple of reasons. I think, as tonight has made abundantly clear, whether we vote yay or nay on this ordinance, chickens are going to remain a part of the city. People are going to continue to keep them. I don't foresee a great chicken crackdown in the city of East Providence to remove all of these animals because they are against the law, even though they are currently against the law. In the event that there is an issue with chickens currently in the city, the remedy is through municipal court, which is a long, drawn-out process. The ordinance that we're taking a look at tonight provides a much quicker process for the resolution of problems. I also have a general take on government. I don't think we are here to solve all of the potential problems of all of the residents of the city. I don't think that's how a democracy is supposed to work. I think we could spend all of our time cooking up all sorts of laws to make sure that nothing ever happens to anyone and keep everybody in their houses all the time, but that wouldn't make people very happy. So with all of those things said, I think, and I would like to point out that this ordinance was vetted both through zoning and through the animal control officer. It certainly was not simply cooked up by a member or two of council. So with all of those things said, I think that's where I'm at.
Mr. President, we have to realize that the reason for having two passages for an ordinance is you have the first passage to say, let's have the conversation and let's listen more to the public. So that's why I always support a first passage, because I don't want to stifle any conversation. And I took that time between that first passage and tonight to really check into this further. First of all, I've been inundated with calls right through the time that I walked in here tonight, that I would have to say, people who were just kind of hearing about this. I don't know how, it's certainly been on social media, but as I have said so many times before, we don't have an active daily newspaper like we did back in the day. So word does get around slowly to some people, especially those who don't have social media. And I was hearing from a few people tonight that they were surprised to see that it was coming to this point. I do listen to the CDC for a lot of what they say, and there are some legitimate concerns there. I have listened to a gentleman I respect a lot, with the Defenders of Animals, and he and that group is against this, and they've listed a lot of their concerns. And I also, as Councilman Morado said, certainly don't want to pit neighbors against neighbors. The animal control officer, while he said, he would work with this, certainly looked like he was treading carefully and on some thin ice that, is he going to be getting calls every day? Could he handle this? Our police department certainly has a lot to do. Are they going to be called day in and day out? And then there's the municipal court process, or should we have to go through courts? As I talked to one of the zoning officials, he said it's going to get kicked to them once the animal control officer does what he can legally do, as the matter then turns to coops and distances from fences and neighbors' yards. It then gets into a zoning area, and they're going to have to jump into it. And I just think, as the dust has finally settled in my deliberations, we're more city than country. We're not Rehoboth and Seekonk. We're not Providence or Central Falls either. We're an urban ring community. And where do we draw the line? No matter what we do tonight, there will be some people that will have them, and so be it. If they're responsible, and I'm not looking to send the chicken police out after people. But if this gets out of hand, what happens? I'll be voting against tonight. Thank you.
Council President, so as we've heard from both sides on this topic, this is something that we've been discussing for well over a year now in the community, and have vetted, as Councilman Cahoon has mentioned, multiple times, taking all opinions and concerns into consideration. And I think, to be quite honest, this was something that was well drafted with good intentions for the community, and to acknowledge that we understand that there are two sides and where people sit on the fence for this. I think that, we've, as a community, have supported others who have had this, but we've run across some issues, again, with the animal control on how to manage those who have them because of disputes and has caused some hardship in the community on both ends, right? People have had hardship for those who have had them in the community, and it's caused hardship for those who do not have them and don't want them in the community. This helps. This is a tool that helps our animal control officer, give him something to work with. Right now, all he has is you can't have it. And then it becomes just a mucky mess that he has to deal with, neighbors have to deal with, and then our municipal court has to deal with. And I don't think that there's a good resolution in that sense, because people are firm on what they want and what they want to do. And we're not going to change that. So unfortunately, it doesn't sound like it's going to make it tonight or pass, but it's unfortunate because it does have some good language that protects both parties, whichever way you fall on the decision on whether you're for or against it. So I don't know, what to say to those who have it. So I know you've publicly have gone out. I don't see our animal control officer going out or our zoning officer going out and causing additional work for themselves. That being said, I don't think if this did pass that we were going to have a huge influx of new chicken farmers in the city. I think it was just going to help those who have it. To have something like this isn't the same as having a dog or a hamster or a cat, right? There's a lot of work and money that goes into having a chicken coop and maintaining it and buying the feed and nurturing those animals. So it's not something that I think people just decide one day, I think I'm going to have a few chickens. It's something that's well thought out. They're well prepared for it. Again, and that's why I thought it was really important to have something like this for the community to have accountability for. And to the point where we talked about dogs not being permitted, I get that too, because you might have people who aren't going to register their chicken coops, but I think responsible people will. Just like in anything, you have people who are irresponsible and responsible, and I think we would have responsible people that would register and be held accountable. So in good faith to show that this can be in our city and they can make a difference, and it does sustain a good family environment and learning experience. Just unfortunate.
So let me see what. So this is on for a vote.
Actually, I move to table this ordinance if that's okay with the councilman.
Sure, second.
Okay.
Is there a reason we're tabling it or?
Well, yeah, I don't feel if we know how people feel about it, there's no reason to just move forward with taking a vote on it. But it's up to you. If you want to vote on it, then you can. We can.
We've got a motion and a second to table. We have to have a vote on that, correct? Okay.
I can rescind it if you prefer just to vote on the ordinance, Councilman.
I mean, I'm not sure. Well, there's no debate, right?
Okay.
The motion to table is on the table. Second to fails.
I did second.
Oh, you did second?
Oh, second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So now you've-
So Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato,
This is the table, correct?
to table.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick,
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza,
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye. Next item, please.
Next item is new business, mayor communications, appointment requiring council confirmation, Christopher Grant to the planning board at large seat term 1/16/2021 to 1/15/2026. Director Gonzalez.
Good evening, members of the council. This is a reappointment. Mr. Grant will be serving the term from 1/16/2021 to 1/15/2026 at large seat. Questions?
I have none. I'd like to point out that Mr. Grant let me borrow some materials from the old high school quite a while ago, and I'd like to let Mr. Grant know that I still have those in their safe. I just haven't had a chance to get them back to him. And I would move to approve.
Second, Mr. Grant's done a wonderful job in planning. I believe he helped with the new high school as well with some planning. He wasn't on the building committee, but I would second the motion.
Okay, approved. We have a motion. It was seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morado.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye. Mr. Gonzalez.
So the next appointment does not require council approval. It's for the Historic District. Mr. Warzika, he's interested in historic preservation within the city, volunteers at the Providence Historical Society Museum. He's retired, resides in East Providence, obviously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3 for discussion is a report on the March's finance and capital expenses. Unfortunately, Mr. Moore is not here today. He's out. Does anyone have any questions for the administration regarding the report that we have attached to the docket?
I do not.
No one? Okay. We'll proceed on to the next item, please.
Next item, report of other city officials, report of the city solicitor, the claims committee report.
Thank you, Council President. As you know, the Council Matters and Claims Committee, prior to the meeting tonight, they approved the claim of on the agenda of Donna Pupolo for the amount of $260.27 as a result of a pothole claim, and also approved the sewer abatement in the amount of $1,446.35 to Christine Estrada. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Next item, please.
Next item, resolutions for discussion and possible vote. The first one is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a police mutual aid agreement between the city of East Providence, Rhode Island and the town of Seekonk, Massachusetts. The sponsor is Council President Brito.
Thank you, Deputy Clerk. It's a resolution authorizing the mayor, as the deputy said, to execute a mutual aid agreement between the city of East Providence and Seekonk, Massachusetts. And it's mutual. We help them, they help us. Without reading the entire resolution, I'll just read the first paragraph. Whereas the city of East Providence Police Department would like to enter into a mutual aid agreement with the town of Seekonk Police Department as provided in Rhode Island General Laws 45-42-2 and MGLC 40 for the purpose of providing reciprocal police services across jurisdiction. This is something police department has been doing for a number of years now. So we just ask that we continue these services for the mutual aid to Seekonk, Massachusetts, and it's reciprocated back to the city of East Providence.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
I'll second.
Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morado.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is a resolution authorizing the mayor to convey property located on Burnside Avenue and Hoppin Avenue. This is 8 residential lots located on Burnside Avenue and Hoppin Ave to the highest responsible bidder, parcels 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and the sponsor is Councilman Cahoon.
Mr. President, I hate to do this, but I think it's probably quickest and easiest just to read the resolution. It's not very long. So whereas on February 28th, 2022, the city issued a request for proposals for the sale of 8 7,500 square foot city-owned parcels located at Burnside Avenue and Hoppin Avenue. And whereas a total of 21 fee proposals were received for the 8 parcels, ranging from $75,000 to $120,000, and were ranked by the Department of Planning and Economic Development based upon the highest bid offer. And whereas Rhode Island General Laws 45-2-4 grants the city council the authority to convey property, now therefore be it resolved that the city council of the city of East Providence authorizes the sale of the 8 city-owned parcels located at Burnside Avenue and Hoppin Avenue to the highest, most responsive bidder as determined by the Department of Planning and Economic Development. 2, the mayor, by and through the office of the city solicitor, is hereby empowered and authorized to draft and or execute any and all documents, including but not limited to deed of transfer necessary to effectuate and perfect the sale of the 8 parcels located on Burnside Avenue and Hoppin Avenue. This resolution shall take effect upon passage.
Any discussion from the council?
That property, it's there's no more than 8 lots, right? That's the whole parcel will be 8 complete.
Yeah, it's 8 lots, and Bill, if I correct, 2 of them are. Okay, so it's just
It's
the 8
11.
minus, there's 8 total and 3 are affordable lots. So this is just a sale of the first 8. Okay.
Are we gonna know as a council, or do we vote at that point in time when that deal is finalized, or this is the last time we're seeing this?
For these 8 lots,
Correct.
this is the last time you're seeing it because the documents will be re-executed.
And the zoning for that has already been changed to accept that, right?
I believe so, yes. It went through the planning board process to create the lots, and then I think was already appropriately zoned. Yeah,
Yeah, please.
Councilman, yeah, the lots, they're all single family lots, reflects the zoning in the neighborhood, 7,500 square foot lots. R3, single family lots, so that was all approved by the I think when you adopted a resolution to do the demolition of the buildings, but the lots would be platted for single family homes. And that 3 would be set aside for affordable housing, which will be the next RFQ that will be issuing probably in another couple of weeks.
And I believe that is the total that we have approved, 11.
Yes.
It's not going to increase the affordable housing. There's a formula for that. That does not mean Section 8 housing. Not that there's anything, wrong with that, but that's not what this is.
No, these lots have all been recorded as in the land evidence records. They can't change, and they're pretty much set up to. We had 21 bids in total, very, very strong proposals. The 8 bidders that responded all have provided evidence that they're able to finance and build within 2 years, have certificate of occupancy in 2 years. There is one little nuance. Parcel 4 has a tie. So at some point we'll have to do a lottery to determine who's awarded that parcel. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And there isn't, as I understand it, there isn't one developer, there's not one Jane Doe coming in or a John Doe developer doing them all.
Yeah,
These are individual bids.
The way we did it is that each entity or person was allowed to bid up to 2 parcels, but they can only be awarded 1. So in this case, we'll have 8 separate individuals or entities buying the lots. It's not a conglomerate or aggregation of the lots.
And presumably neither of your ties has been awarded another one.
Right. We haven't done that yet, so.
So we're approving this with the tie?
Well, right now we've identified 2 people that have identified, they bid the same exact amount for parcel 4. So after this vote, we could do a lottery tonight. We could set up a time and a date to do it, maybe at some other opportunity or determine the best way to do it. But this would just allow us the ability to move forward with the process.
So I think the tie needs to be broken in public. We don't have to do it at a council meeting, but you could certainly post a meeting of the planning board or whatever and do it, then pull out a number so everyone can see it's happening.
But the resolution does give the ability of, to the highest, most responsive bidder as determined by the Department of Planning and Economic Development.
Yeah, but we will do, we've talked about a form of a lottery to award parcel 4, but we could work with the solicitor's office and inform the council president how and when we're going to do that. So it's public.
And they already aware, those 2?
Yes, yeah, we've
entities.
contacted everybody on the list and made them aware of the situation. I think some of the potential buyers are here this evening as well.
I just want to go on a record and say something, and it may not be pleasant, but I don't really care. A topic like this, that it's in my ward, something that I've been following even before I was elected. I feel very insulted, Councilman Cahoon, that, and by the way, I'm glad that this is going forward this way because this is exactly what the residents wanted for the longest time. But I'm a little bit insulted that, one, the councilman who represents Ward 4 had no idea as to what the backstory as to how this came to be and presented to us on this paper. And I have to, I'm left guessing or trying to answer questions when I don't have the answers to. And, I thank you for, once again, sponsoring something in my ward, but I would, love moving forward, at least finishing this term where I'm kept up to date as issues as important as this one in my ward, so I can be able to answer constituents with the proper information. That's all. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. And I got a request to sponsor it. I did ask several questions about it. I know that when items have come up before and you've asked that we could co-sponsor, I've had no issue with that. And nor do I have issue with anybody else co-sponsoring anything at any time.
Thank you.
Was there a second?
No, I
Was
don't
there-
think
was
there's
a
been a
motion?
motion, but I will move to approve the resolution as read.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fazioli. Next item, please.
Next item is the resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for the purchase of 10 police vehicles for the police department. Sponsor is Council Vice President Rodrick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think that the entire council has been supportive of our police department. Captain Cataray and Chief Francisconi are here tonight. I won't cause duplication by saying what they are going to say, so they're here to answer questions. The resolution does come to $487,000 and some change, and it's asset forfeiture monies, and it's keeping our force up to date. And Chief, I would turn it over to you.
Sure. These vehicles will be utilized to replace our trickle down to our detective fleet. When we first received the Google asset forfeiture money in 2012, we purchased pretty much a brand new fleet. We've never replaced our detective fleet in the last 10 years or so. So we are looking to purchase 8 Explorers, all hybrid Explorers, 4 of which will be given to our captains and 4 to lieutenants, and their vehicles will be moved to the detective pool. Some of those vehicles in the detective pool will be moved here to City Hall to various departments. So those, we have some 2012, 2013 Fusions and Tauruses that will be given to City Hall. We're also looking to purchase 2 fully electric vehicles. Captain Cataray has done a lot of research in this area. It does not appear that electric vehicles are ready for full-time patrol use. They have a lot of positives, but they have some drawbacks when you want to use them that much, as we would be relying on them. We'd like to take these 2 vehicles and put them into service in our community police unit. They won't be driven 24 hours a day. We'd like to assess them, see what the technology looks like up close and personal. And hopefully that's something we can move towards down the road. Additionally, with these hybrid Explorers, that's also something I'd like to move towards for our patrol fleet. There is, some gas savings with the hybrids. So this would be our first foray, if you will, into the hybrid electric arena.
Chief, I just have a question.
Sure.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
Councilman.
Councilman.
Right now, well, not to my knowledge, we don't have a docking station for electrical vehicles.
That's correct.
So you coming to the council for funds to have that implemented, or are you identified assets already in your budget for that?
So when it comes to that, we are right now looking at grants for a full-time charging station. There are other ways of charging them, and I'd like to have Captain Cataray come up and kind of fill you in. He's done a lot of research on this and can fill you in on that.
So when we purchase the vehicles, they'll come with a unit that'll plug into the wall. Problem with that, it takes up to 95 hours to get a full charge. It could take a day or 2 to go from 10% to 80%. We could also install a 240 outlet, much like you use for your washer and dryer, and that'll charge the vehicle anywhere from 8 to 11 and a half hours. If we find, which would fit our needs, as we're currently planning on using those vehicles. They would primarily be used during the day with CPU or any events that they go to. From there, we'll be looking for grants to putting charging stations, certainly at the police station, perhaps down at Highway for those that may be servicing the vehicles, at least to the extent of brakes, tires, and that sort of thing.
So then those vehicles would be plugged in at night at the station or one of the locations. They wouldn't
Correct.
be going home.
For the time being, we prefer that they be plugged in at the station.
Thank you.
At some point in time, we have to really consider about having these stations being built around, not so much around the city, but to accommodate the city fleet, not only the police department, but other vehicles as well as we go into, another 5 years plus from.
Our hope is
today.
these vehicles will help us get there.
Now.
Mr. President, if I may, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Is there any thought to making one of those electric vehicles associated with the SRO at the high school, being as though there are already charging stations there?
So they are part of the CPU unit. So when those vehicles come in, we'll figure out where to best put them. They are in consideration. We would just like the community to see them out there being used.
Sure, makes sense.
So I'd like to add real quick, one of the thoughts we did think about that is the SROs don't put a lot of miles on their car.
Right.
They go to the high school and they sit there. So, we could do that, but we want to give them a workout. We want to see how these things perform, and, get more use of them. So everything's on the board, but that's just kind of one thing we were thinking about when it comes to that.
Totally makes sense.
So maybe like at nighttime, you could use one of those high school charging stations, right? Have the car there charging.
Yes.
Pick it up in the morning, because the SROs don't leave them at school, do they, overnight?
No, they come back to the.
So those charging stations should be available at night or the end of a shift maybe. And if the grant doesn't come through, if we don't get, ideally, they should be at the police station, yes. But as a backup, we have a couple at, I think at least 2 at the high
I
school.
thought there were 3. but
Maybe
yeah.
2 or 3. So at night, they're just sitting there.
Definitely an option.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
something to think about. And my last thought is, I want to commend the department and Captain Catteray, if you did most of the research. The supply chain has been difficult from what I've been reading, even with police cars in other communities, and you were able to work around that.
Yeah, I think the importance of us being here tonight is we spent months trying to track down vehicles. Through our normal suppliers, we were told it would take about 40 weeks for those vehicles to come in. But realistically, looking at it, there are delays beyond that, and some orders are being canceled altogether. We were referred to the McGovern Municipal Headquarters, which is where these vehicles are, and we found the vehicles on the lot. We went up as soon as we were aware they had them, and they're holding these 10 vehicles for us now.
So the sooner the better that we,
If we don't move on these, they'll be gone shortly.
thank you.
So Chief, the vehicles that need to, that are going to be trickled down to the city side,
Mhm.
will they need any modifications to them?
We'll have to take the, the police radios out. Actually, some of them don't have police radios. The detectives just use handheld, and the emergency lights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, not bad. All right.
Minimal work to transfer them over.
Sure.
If there are no other council comments, I would
I have a
move.
couple of questions. So first of all, electric vehicles is positive and a negative to them.
Absolutely.
Electric. That was a joke. But I do have a question though. So there was I forgot which budget season, I don't know if it was the first or the second one. There were vehicles on there for, as part of a capital improvement. And I was told that we couldn't utilize the forfeiture money at the time because we already had made a purchase way back when we first got that money of a whole bunch of cars, and you can't keep replenishing the fleet.
Mhm.
I just want to know what has changed, which trust me, I want it to come out of that money.
Mhm.
That's what it's intended for. I'm just curious as to what has changed since then.
So the government doesn't want you to supplant the budget. So if we were to never, ever use city funds to buy cars, that would raise a red flag. We have in the past use city funds to buy cars. So moving forward, our next purchase, I would be looking to use, city
So you
funds.
kind of have to kind of mix it in.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a balancing act. We're balancing a couple other things with managing the federal asset forfeiture money when it comes to, so they don't allow you to build. So we can't build a structure with the Google money. But there are avenues around that. That's not considered supplanting. It's difficult to explain when it comes to I have email chains with them trying to wrap my head around how they want us to utilize the money. But I guess the bottom line is we can't supplant. We can't fail to fund the police department and rely on solely Google funds. So it's a balancing act.
Thank you. This is one thing that, if anyone knows, these cars are being driven pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if they have 100,000 miles, it's pretty much like having 400,000+. It's an endless cycle that just a necessity.
So with no further questions, was that motion ever made?
No,
Can you,
I would move the resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for the purchase of 10 police vehicles for the police department at the amount of $487,061.20 through the Greater Boston Police Council using asset forfeiture funds.
do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay. Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye, thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. And just a quick reminder to the council, tomorrow's our
Yes,
ceremony at the high school for promotions, swearing in awards,
time,
6 p.m.
6 P M,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Police Department, 6 P M.
And Chief, my apologies again for
Yeah,
having
no
to go out
worries.
on that
No
game
worries.
tomorrow night. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Next item, please.
Next item is the resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a change order for additional work related to the Pawtucket Water Supply Board Emergency Interconnection Project. Sponsors, Council President Brito.
So this resolution, essentially, we had already voted on the interconnection project. However, there is an additional change order to this project for $51,872.37. And that is for additional policing and paving. So the city wished to execute a change order for additional work related to the Pawtucket Water Supply Board Emergency Interconnection Project. Any questions on this?
This was part of our commitment to provide those services,
The reconnection?
the reconnection.
Yeah. However, we've already voted on it. And now there's a change.
There's a
order to the
change
work.
order.
So this is the change order, and the change order is for additional policing and paving, for the record.
Council President, is this because there's a delay in the project and that we need additional policing?
Not that, no.
No, so I spoke to the DPW director before this meeting just to get a little more information. Apparently, when this was bid, there was an assumption that the road was only, I'm going to make it that, but this thick.
Yeah.
But it actually, when they actually got in, it was actually thicker. So there's extra paving that was needed to be done to bring up the road and then bring up the grade. So that was the extra money. And then, of course, because of that, they had to spend some more time out there. So there was more details for police officers to be out there. So that's where the expense came from.
Okay.
They were the low bidder by far, by the way. And then this was just a change order, I think 51,000.
51,000.
So it really, most of it, the cost is related to the extra labor and the extra tar needed to bring it up to grade.
And we all know that anything over $50,000 has to be approved by this council.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Okay.
That being said, motion to approve.
I'll second.
Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye, thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is a resolution in support of passage of H 7725 related to the regulation and use of sale of cigarettes, other tobacco products, and electronic nicotine delivery systems at the local level. Sponsor, Councilwoman Souza.
Thank you, Deputy Clerk. So this resolution is on the docket today, coming off a conversation 2 weeks ago when I spoke about the tobacco ordinance that was on the docket and voted on, and one tabled for further amendments. This resolution, I'll just go ahead and read it. Whereas approximately 480,000 people die in the United States from a tobacco-related disease every year, making tobacco use the nation's leading cause of preventable death. And whereas the WHO, World Health Organization, estimates by 2030, tobacco will be responsible for 8.3 million deaths per year and 10% of all deaths worldwide. And whereas every year smoking costs Rhode Island nearly $1.1 billion in direct health care costs and lost productivity. And whereas nearly 95% of the people who smoke start by the age of 21. And whereas individuals who begin smoking at an early age are more likely than those who start at a later age to develop a serious addiction to nicotine. And whereas tobacco companies target young adults between the ages of 18 and 24 to increase the frequency with which young adults use tobacco products to encourage them to transition into habitual users. And whereas currently cigarettes use among Rhode Island Rhode Island high school students declined from 6.1% in 2017 to 4.2% in 2019, one of the lowest youth smoking rates in the country. And whereas among Rhode Island high school students, the electronic vape products and electronic nicotine devices, delivery devices such as vapes, are the most commonly used tobacco nicotine products, over 301%, followed by cigar, which is at 5.1%, and cigarettes at the 4.2%. And whereas under current Rhode Island law and in a decision of the Rhode Island Supreme Court, cities and towns do not have the ability to regulate or license the sale of tobacco products. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the City Council of East Providence urges passage of H 7725, introduced by Representative Corvidian, Knight, Tanzi, Speakman, Kaliski, Kazar, Cadwell, and Henry's, which will allow cities and towns by ordinance to regulate the use and sales of cigarettes and other tobacco products and electronic nicotine device systems. The City Council urges passage of said legislation and hereby directs the city clerk, deputy city clerk, to send a copy of the resolution to the president of the Rhode Island Senate, the Speaker of the House, and to the delegation of the City of East Providence.
At the pleasure of the council.
I think the councilwoman would like to make the motion to approve that,
Please do.
Motion to approve the resolution as read.
and I'll second.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye. Next item, please.
Next item is introduction of ordinances for discussion and possible vote. An ordinance and amendment of Chapter 9 of the revised ordinances of the City of East Providence, Rhode Island, 1998, as amended, entitled Miscellaneous Offenses, amending Section 9-15 entitled Purchase, Sale, or Delivery of Tobacco Products to Persons Under 18 Prohibited. Notice of last to be posted. The summary is to change the age to purchase tobacco products in the form of cigarettes, cigars, pipe tobacco, chewing tobacco, snuff, electronic cigarettes, or other forms of electronic nicotine delivery devices to 21 years of age and setting penalties in violation thereof. The sponsor is Councilwoman Souza.
Thank you again, Deputy Clerk, for that. So this is just a cleaned up version of the ordinance that was on last week, which took out the wording that gave us or tried to give us authorization to regulate the sale or permitting of any tobacco products. So this ordinance here really just aligns with the age of all tobacco products with the state's current legislation.
At the pleasure of the council.
I move to approve for first passage as read.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Deputy Clerk, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye. Next item, please.
Next item is adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Third.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Cahoon.
Aye.
Councilman Morato.
Aye.
Council Vice President Rodrick.
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza.
Aye.
Council President Brito.
Aye. Thank you. Hey, quick question for you.